When we talk about true crime, we're not just talking about statistics or headlines. We're diving into real lives, both the ones destroyed and the ones who did the destroying. The world of true crime is filled with figures who lived in the shadows, built empires from chaos, and committed acts so disturbing, they still haunt us decades later. Today we'll take you inside 5 of the most jaw-dropping true crime stories. From a queenpin who ruled Miami with blood, to a serial killer who stalked the night, to a mystery that still grips America. These aren't just stories, they're warnings. Let's begin. Story 1. Griselda Blanco, the cocaine godmother. Before Pablo Escobar became the name on everyone's lips, there was Griselda Blanco. Known as the Black Widow, she rose from poverty in Medellin, Colombia, to become the most feared woman in the drug world. By the late 1970s, Blanco had carved out an empire in Miami, running cocaine from Colombia to the US with shocking brutality. Her smuggling techniques were innovative, including lingerie lined with packets of coke. But her real reputation came from her mercilessness. Griselda wasn't just a boss, she was a killer. She allegedly ordered the deaths of over 200 people and was even known to settle scores personally. The streets of Miami ran red with cartel blood during her reign, with daylight shootouts and cold executions becoming a terrifying norm. She thrived in a man's world, building a criminal dynasty and avoiding conviction for years. But power never lasts. In 2012, after years of exile, Griselda was gunned down outside a butcher shop in Medellin by a hitman on a motorcycle. The same style of killing she made infamous. Her story is a lesson in how crime and karma often ride side by side. Story 2. Pablo Escobar, the king of cocaine. While Blanco helped pave the way, it was Pablo Escobar who turned drug trafficking into a global enterprise. Born in 1949 in Colombia, Escobar began his criminal journey stealing gravestones and cars. But once he tapped into the cocaine boom, his rise was meteoric. By the 1980s, his Medellin cartel was supplying 80% of the world's cocaine. At one point, he was worth more than $30 billion. Escobar was a paradox, a brutal killer and a folk hero. He built schools and soccer fields, paid for food and housing for the poor, but also ordered the deaths of thousands. His motto, plata o plomo, silver or lead, meant take the bribe or take the bullet. His war against the Colombian government included bombings, assassinations, and even hijackings. Escobar was so powerful he negotiated his own imprisonment, building a custom luxury prison called La Catedral. But power never comes without enemies. The Colombian government, aided by the US, eventually hunted him down. In December 1993, Escobar was killed on a rooftop in Medellin. Though he died, his legacy continues to shape Colombia and the global drug trade forever. Story 3. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. While Escobar ruled Colombia, another monster stalked the homes of Los Angeles. His name was Richard Ramirez. Between 1984 and 1985, Ramirez committed a horrifying string of murders, assaults, and break-ins that terrified Southern California. He didn't follow a specific pattern. Old, young, men, women, it didn't matter.
These things, contribute to a person, to a person's frustration and anger, and at some point in life, he explodes.
He crept into homes late at night, often entering through open windows or unlocked doors, killing, raping, and mutilating as he went. What made Ramirez even more terrifying was his obsession with Satanism. He often left symbols at crime scenes, whispered satanic prayers, and expressed no remorse. At his trial, he smirked and flashed a pentagram drawn on his palm. "Hail Satan," he said in open court. The press dubbed him the Night Stalker, and his trial became one of the most watched in US history. He was sentenced to death in 1989, but died of cancer in prison in 2013. His reign of terror lives on in books, documentaries, and the minds of a city that still remembers the fear of sleeping with the lights off. Story 4. The Butcher of Rostov, Andrei Chikatilo. Now we cross over to the former Soviet Union, where one of history's most terrifying serial killers operated under the radar for over a decade. Andrei Chikatilo, also known as the Butcher of Rostov, committed at least 52 murders between 1978 and 1990. His victims were mostly women and children, lured from train stations and marketplaces in Russia. He would stab, mutilate, and sometimes cannibalize them, leaving bodies scattered across rural Soviet landscapes. Chikatilo's crimes were made more horrific by the context. The Soviet system didn't acknowledge the existence of serial killers, believing them to be a product of Western capitalist societies. That denial allowed Chikatilo to continue killing for years, even after innocent men were arrested and in some cases executed for his crimes. What's even more disturbing is that Chikatilo was a former teacher who had been fired for molesting students. yet he was still allowed to work in various roles that brought him close to vulnerable people. His eventual capture in 1990 came after a massive undercover operation. A police officer noticed him behaving suspiciously near a train station known for disappearances. Once arrested, Chikatilo confessed in eerie, emotionless detail to dozens of murders. His trial in 1992 was a national spectacle, so gruesome that many in the courtroom, including guards, were unable to sit through it. Chikatilo sat in a steel cage during proceedings, grinning and muttering to himself. He showed no remorse. In 1994, he was executed with a single gunshot to the back of the head, a fate far more merciful than what he gave his victims. But the damage had been done. Chikatilo's killing spree not only exposed the terrifying depths of one man's evil, but also revealed the failures of a regime that preferred denial over justice. His legacy is one of horror, outrage, and a grim reminder of how systems that fail to protect the vulnerable can end up enabling monsters. Story 5. The Zodiac Killer, America's Unsolved Nightmare. Finally, we turn to a mystery that continues to baffle authorities, puzzle codebreakers, and terrify true crime enthusiasts. The Zodiac Killer. Operating in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Zodiac became one of America's most infamous criminals, not just for the murders he committed, but for the twisted game he played with law enforcement and the public. His confirmed kill count stands at 5, but in his cryptic letters, the Zodiac claimed to have murdered as many as 37 people. What made him different wasn't just the violence, it was the spectacle. He sent handwritten letters and coded messages to newspapers, taunting police and daring them to catch him. Some of his ciphers were cracked quickly, revealing chilling messages like, "I like killing people because it is so much fun," while others took over 50 years to decode. One cipher wasn't cracked until 2020, half a century after it was mailed. The Zodiac attacked couples parked in cars, shot a cab driver in San Francisco, and once wore a medieval-style executioner's hood during a daytime attack by Lake Berryessa. He was erratic and theatrical, injecting fear into every corner of the Bay Area. People avoided going out at night. Parents kept their children close. The city lived under a dark cloud, waiting for the next letter, the next crime scene, the next unsolvable riddle. The suspect pool grew over the years: school teachers, postal workers, military men, but no one was ever arrested. One man, Arthur Lee Allen, became the primary suspect for years, but DNA evidence later cast doubt on his involvement. The Zodiac's true identity remains unknown to this day. In recent years, amateur investigators and online sleuths have tried to solve the case themselves. Some believe the killer is long dead. Others are convinced he's still alive, watching the world obsess over his legacy. The FBI continues to keep an open case file. Digital tools, forensic genealogy, and advanced handwriting analysis offer hope. But for now, the Zodiac remains a ghost. And that's what makes the Zodiac Killer story so haunting. It's not just the violence, it's the silence, the unanswered questions. The killer who might have lived to see himself become legend. He wasn't just a murderer, he was a manipulator of public fear, a puppeteer who made the world dance to his sick tune. Decades later, he still holds our attention, and our fear. The faces of fear. So what do these 5 stories tell us? That monsters don't always look like monsters. Some build empires, some live double lives, some hide in plain sight. From Griselda Blanco's bloody climb to power, to Richard Ramirez's satanic rampage, to the Zodiac's cryptic puzzles, these stories stretch across continents and decades, but they all reveal the darkest corners of human nature. And while justice was served in most cases, some wounds never fully heal, some questions remain unanswered, and some killers, like the Zodiac, still roam free if they're even alive. If these stories gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe. We'll be bringing you more real, raw, and unforgettable true crime every week. Drop a comment below and let us know. Which case haunts you the most? Which story would you like us to dive deeper into next time? Until then, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, the scariest stories are the ones that really happened.